Hey, my name is Brianna Swain, and this is my larynx model. Just showing you all the parts. So the first part is the thyroid cartilage. This serves as protection for the vocal folds because they are right behind it, and they're very fragile structures. This thyroid angle is usually like a ridge down in the center of the cartilage, and that's considered like the Adam's apple. So it's more prominent in men and less prominent in women typically. And in men, the more prominent it is usually like an indication of they have lower frequencies, lower fundamental frequencies. The next structure is the cricoid cartilage, and you can see the notch right here. This provides attachments for muscles and ligaments that are involved in opening and closing the airways, so inside. And the point of the arytenoid cartilage over here attaches and allows for ab and adduction of the vocal folds. The hyoid bone is this structure right here, and this provides attachment for muscles that are in the floor of the mouth, like the base of the tongue, and it allows for movement of these structures for speech. You have your epiglottis right here, and usually this will kind of arch over. It's a leaf-shaped structure, and it opens and closes to allow airflow, and it seals off the larynx so food and liquid can't go down into the vocal folds and cause aspiration. The arytenoid cartilages are these smaller fan-shaped structures, and they are where the vocal process attaches to the cartilage, so it's really difficult to see. But right here behind, you can see where the vocal folds attach. And then the swinging motion that's downward and inward results in an adduction of the vocal folds, and then when it swings up and out, it causes adduction or abduction, of the vocal folds. This first tracheal ring right here serves as a supporting structure, and it acts as the bottom of the larynx. So it's just what this structure kind of rests on. The recurrent laryngeal nerve runs up both sides, and it diverges up here, and the structure kind of loops around, and you'll see it comes up here and then diverges off. This structure provides innervation for the muscles of the larynx except for the cricothyroid muscle. An injury to this muscle could actually result in the immobility of a vocal fold, and that can be associated with hoarseness, which we've actually talked about in this class. You have your base of the tongue, which is this area right here. It attaches to this hyoid bone and allows the tongue to move up during speech and swallowing and things like that. You have the superior laryngeal nerve, which is actually on the front of this structure, and this is providing sensory information for structures above the vocal folds, whereas the recurrent laryngeal nerve is sensory info for beneath the true vocal folds. And then you have your valleculae, which is this pink structure, kind of where the base of the tongue is. And this is an important landmark to notice when you are inserting a trach. And it's also the saliva pit, so your swallowing function isn't induced while you're speaking. Your piriform sinuses, it's kind of like this little pocket right in this area, and that serves as kind of food can get stuck in these areas, but it's located above the this is where the pharyngeal constrictors insert into the thyroid cartilage, and like I said earlier, this is where sometimes food can pocket. Okay, you have your ventricular folds, which kind of sit above the true vocal folds, which are seen farther below. These are your false vocal folds. And the false vocal folds support, or they provide a lubrication of mucosa for the true vocal folds. And these true vocal folds, you can see you have these blue landmarks, and when you're looking at the front of the larynx, they V up to the front like this, and then at the back of the larynx, it's wider. These open and close during speech, and the purpose of these is to vibrate together to produce voice. They can also lengthen when muscles are activated. They lengthen and create a higher pitch. This is the cricothyroid muscle. These connect to the cricoid cartilage and the thyroid cartilage, hence the cricothyroid muscle, and they aid in phonation. So this is the only muscle for tension of the larynx and vocal folds. Then you have this posterior right here, and you can kind of see it kind of makes a semicircle down. And this posterior cricoarytenoid muscle functions to abduct the vocal folds by attaching to these arytenoid cartilages. So you can see it kind of attaches to the arytenoid cartilages and allows for those to rotate in and out. Okay, these pink structures on the sides, right here and right here, these are the lateral cricoarytenoids. They extend from the muscular process back here to the vocal fold process, and they are the antagonist to the PCA. So they are actually for adduction, not abduction. Your cricothyroid joint is right here, and it is where the two cartilages join together, and it kind of creates a rocking and a gliding motion that allows for altering of the vocal fold length. And then you have this structure up here, which is the hypopharynx. This was the only way to really show because it is technically like a floating bone, and this kind of helps guide food into the esophagus and then down away from the larynx. That way food does not go into this sensitive protected area. And the esophagus, which is this structure down here, is where the food and liquid go. And then you have your vocal process, and that structure is right behind the arytenoid cartilages and on the true vocal folds. It's kind of difficult to point down there, but it's where the true vocal folds attach to these cartilages, and that's what aids in the ab and the adduction of the vocal folds. That way when these rotate, the vocal folds either adduct or abduct.